If you like our videos, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff that this little chunky boy, well, this month. Oh, what a little fucking beautiful. Thank you, buddy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel. If it's your first time here, please like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff if you do enjoy. And if you're back from the pack, welcome back to you specifically, myself and Jamie. Appreciate the continued support. Now, today is something a bit different. I did this back when Saw X released, and gave my thoughts on that and a little bit of a breakdown video. I think that one was a lot longer than it should have been. I think it was like almost an hour long or something, so that we're going to cut that down a lot for this video, make it a lot shorter. But I went and saw Deadpool and Wolverine. And I thought it would be a fun idea to put my thoughts about the film into a little bit of a review form video for your viewing pleasure. It is going to have spoilers in the video, and I will have some discussions about certain spoilery things from the film. But I will have a timestamp in the description for when that does come up in discussion, and where that will start to like crop up and everything like that. So, first things out of the way, let's just get into the review of the film. Honestly, I wouldn't say it's like the strongest of the Deadpool trilogy. It's very good. It's very good. It's definitely not the best of the trilogy, though, and there's a couple of things that do bring it back a bit because of it's not perfect, but it's still good. It's still very good. I would still give it like a 7.5, 8 kind of ranking there. There was a lot of good things I did like about the film. The action was amazing. Every action set piece was phenomenal every single time. Whether it be like background side characters getting their shit on, or whether it be Deadpool and Wolverine just chopping some guys up and like making some gory mess, like all that was great. All the choreography was fantastic. A lot of the characters used in this film were rather enjoyable. There's a few. I'm gonna get into it in my spoiler talk, but there's so many cameos, so many cameos. It is insane, and it really makes me happy that they didn't just throw in the cameos for cameos' sake. And I'd say about like 60% of the cameos that are shown in the film actually do stay in the film and have a lasting impact and narrative role. Like, they don't just stand there, walk around, and say, "Hi guys, I'm this guy from this film from 2002" or something like that. No, they actually show up and they have a purpose, and they actually progress the plot in a way that is interesting. Like, now that also gets to a certain degree where it's like you have so many of these cameos that it feels a bit much sometimes, but it's not like overbearing, you know? It's not like too much. Mostly because the cameos just increase in, they just keep escalating in ridiculousness as the movie goes on, but then the final like couple of cameos, it's like not as huge. It's not as impactful as the other cameos prior to them in the film. So there's a couple of pitfalls with that. Another thing that I will bring up is the characterizations of Deadpool and Wolverine this time around were also very great. The emotional aspects. I didn't think it would be as emotionally driven of a film as I thought it'd be, but at the same time, some of those emotional beats, they're missing something. Like, they're done well, but they're missing something. A great example of this, and I'm not going to go to spoilers in this section about it, but the backstory as to why Wolverine is the worst Wolverine across the multiverse just doesn't jive with me super. It just does. It, like, when I was in the theater, I was watching it, and they started telling me what the backstory of that Wolverine was. I'm sitting there like, there are much worse Wolverines out in the multiverse. Like, there's guys that have done horrible things. Like, a great example of this is Old Man Logan. Like, and even to a certain degree, like, actually Logan himself. But Old Man Logan especially, because in the Old Man Logan comics, he was manipulated by Mysterio through illusions into thinking that everyone in the X-Mansion was a supervillain. So he slaughters the X-Men with his own hands, basically bringing an end to one of the biggest key superhero teams at preventing the villains from gaining total global dominance, which is eventually what happens at the end of the Old Man Logan sort of run, is that the world's decimated and villains are in control of everything. But that Logan, compared to what the backstory they lay out in this film, is much worse. Like this one was bad for sure. Like, he made some poor choices, some very poor choices, but in comparison to some other Wolverines, I don't know if I'd say he's the worst out of the bunch. It just doesn't seem like it. And they introduce a couple of aspects in this film which, sorry, I was just shaking up one of my paints because it was mixed wrong. There were some very good aspects as well to the Cassandra Nova character. I did like how they portrayed her. However, as much as I applaud the performance from Emma Corrin, I believe is the actress's name, the motivations for her character are kind of weird. Like, this is getting kind of spoilery, but she basically just sits there for most of the film and then just on a whim decides to do something. Like, it's like a switch flicks and then it's like, oh, but why didn't you do this before? Like, it's a aspect to her character that just doesn't make sense when you look back in hindsight and you look at how her powers are laid out and her position in the story and, like, everything about her character. And then you just look at, like, the things that she's doing and the motivations for doing it, and it's like, this doesn't make sense. This is just dumb. Like, how do you go from, like, not having any interest in this goal whatsoever to having the most interest in this goal possible in, like, the matter of a couple scenes? It's very jarring. And it kind of throws off. Now, most of these narrative problems definitely came from the writer's strike. 110% came from the writer's strike fucking with everything and causing some script issues, I would imagine, some overlapping things. One great example of this I can think of is at the end of the film, or towards the end of the film, there's like a flashback montage sort of thing of earlier events in the film. And some of those scenes play out differently than they did earlier in the film. Like, you have Logan saying something that he never said in the scene. You have X-23, who showed up in the trailer. The full line in the trailer didn't get used in the scene that she shows up in. But at the flashback at the end, they use the full clip. It's a little weird. It's the little things like that where I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's a bit odd. That's a bit strange. Overall, I wouldn't say it's like these are little things, and you kind of don't think about them as much when you have the whole in front of you and you've got all these cameos and everything coming on screen. You're like, oh, fuck yeah. Oh, hell yeah, dude. This is great. This is awesome. Hey, I remember that guy. Hey, I remember that guy. That looks cool. Like, you don't care as much, but there are little things there that do make it draw back a bit from, especially the other Deadpool films, which were pretty solid with their scripts overall. There wasn't any, like, major plot things where it was like, that didn't actually happen, or why is this happening, or why didn't you do this before, kind of thing. Like, most of the motivations and everything were pretty solid and pretty spot on. Outside of a couple of things. Whereas with Deadpool and Wolverine, there's a couple of things here and there, like, but still, as I said, like a 7.5, 8 kind of thing. So I still think it's pretty darn good. But that being said, spoiler talk. That was good. That was very good. Boy, the cameos. Oh my lord, the cameos. Okay. This is the biggest thing of the film. Actually, no. The biggest lasting thing from the film, I would say, that's going forward in future films and TV projects for Marvel is the idea of an anchor being. And the fact that Wolverine, Logan, was the anchor being of basically the Fox universe. As soon as Logan died, everything in the Fox universe started going to shit and unraveling, basically. Which makes sense. Like, that's a funny way to bring in the Fox sort of, like, situation going on there. I find that funny. I find that amusing. But this then means that you have Wolverine as a Nexus being for his world. You have... So it's not Deadpool. They come from the same world, and it's not Deadpool. Wolverine is a Nexus being. Who is the Nexus being of the MCU? And is it Tony Stark? I'm actually surprised that they didn't, like, try and explain that away in the film and say, oh yeah, the MCU's anchor being Tony Stark died, so because there's no Tony Stark, the MCU's unraveling. Like, I think that'd be a funny little way to, like, play off the fact that the MCU is going to shit, and they do poke fun at it a couple of times in the film, but I think that would have been really good. That would have been a really funny way to jab at it. Well, that out of the way, let's get to the cameos. Oh boy, the cameos, my dudes. Oh my god. Okay, so starting from the top of the cameo list, we have the variants of Wolverine. Dude, I did not think we'd be seeing a live action Age of Apocalypse Wolverine. Let me bring up this. Actually, let me bring up this motherfucker again, because this guy's the most, like, 90s fucking thing I think you have ever seen in your entire life. Yeah, just look at that. Just look at this shit. I'm gonna pull it up here and then bada bing, bada boom. Yep, there we go. This guy with his missing hand and his black and red outfit, his wild ass hair. This Wolverine showed up. This Wolverine showed up. Like, Patch, we saw. Brown suit Wolverine fighting the Hulk was kind of crazy, though. That was kind of wild. Like, the OG Hulk v Wolverine. That's badass. I love that. I thought that was a great touch. This is not a Wolverine I thought I would ever see in live action. The handless, like, Age of Apocalypse Wolverine. And then you also had the, let me see if I can pull it up. You also had the Wolverine from the, Uncanny X-Men. Yes. This one here. The Uncanny X-Men Volume 1, or actually, no, it's Volume 251. Hold on. Yeah, this. They showed this Logan in that flashback, too. Even with, like, the raining blood, the skulls around his feet, too. This is ripped exactly from this cover in the film, too, which is crazy. Like, they went all out for the Wolverine variants, and I really appreciate that. But the most incredible Wolverine had to be Henry Cavill's Wolverine. Henry fucking Cavill as Wolverine had to be the most incredible goddamn thing I think I have seen. Not only that, not only seeing him as Wolverine, but on top of that, having Deadpool say that they're going to treat him better than the guys across the street because everyone is fucked around Henry Cavill. They want to give him something good. And on top of that, you hear him give a Wolverine voice and gravelly, growly tone that sounds like a blend between Witcher and Wolverine if they had a fucking baby. Like, oh my god, it's so good. It is so good. Like, initially when I saw this big, jacked, like, muscly Wolverine, I'm like, I don't know who that could be. I don't know who that could be. People kept saying that the Patch version of Wolverine might be Daniel Radcliffe, but nope, it was just Hugh. It was just Hugh. And then you get to that, and it's like, oh, you didn't get Daniel Radcliffe. You got Henry fucking Cavill. You got, like, Big Chungus Wolverine. God damn, it was nutty. It was fucking crazy. And then, like, after all the Wolverine variants, then you had, like, oh, yes, then after that, then you have Wolverine, then Deadpool, then meet up, and everything. You learn about Wolverine being the worst Wolverine in the multiverse, which, sidebar here, okay, you're telling me the worst Wolverine in the multiverse is a Wolverine who abandoned the X-Men in their time of need. They all died. And then as revenge, Logan killed all the humans that were responsible. That is bad. But is it as bad as you being the one to kill all of your friends? And have the blood be on your hands for the rest of your endless life? I don't know. Because they took Wolverine's murder of the entire X-Men and put it on Charles in the Logan movie. They basically made Charles the one that nukes the entire X-Men with his own brain, basically. Whereas in the Old Man Logan comics, Logan's responsible for the entirety of the X-Men's death because of Mysterio's illusions. And again, I have to say, leaving your friends behind to die, regretting that, and then killing all the people who killed your friends, yes, that is very bad. That is very not good. Shame on him for leaving them in the first place and letting them all die. But at the same time, is he really the worst? Like, is he really the worst? I don't think so. I didn't buy that part of it at all. I was like, okay, really? This guy's the worst Wolverine? Like, like, really? Really? He's the worst Wolverine? We're not even gonna include, like, Age of Apocalypse Wolverine, or, like, you know, any of the, like, really, like, morally corrupted, like, fucked up versions of Wolverine. The one that, like, didn't turn away from Weapon X and is just a weapon. Like, there's so many worse Wolverines out there. I'd argue that this is probably one of the better ones, so to speak. Like, worst Wolverine, my ass. But moving on from that, you have the Johnny Storm cameo, and god damn it, man, when I saw this in the movie, when I heard Chris Evans' voice, instantly I'm like, this is definitely going to be a Captain America, or they're going to pull a fast one, and this is going to be Human Torch from the Fantastic Four. Which I had heard rumors of him reprising that role for this film. I just wasn't 100% sure if it would actually happen. And then when he jumps down and you see, like, the red wristbands tied on him, like, oh, these sly motherfuckers. They know exactly what they're doing. That is 110% the Fantastic Four suit. Just with little things on there to make you think it's a Captain America suit. And I love that. I absolutely love that. And seeing him say "flame on" and do the whole thing and the whole shebang again was awesome. That was fucking incredible. And I find it actually really funny that he had to come up against Pyro, who literally just, like, shut his powers off because he can control fire. Like, yeah, that was a very bad pair-up for the Human Torch. And, actually, that brings up another question that I have with Pyro there. The man was communicating with Paradox inside the TVA while he was inside the Void, which is a little weird. Like, I don't know where that's established that can happen, but I guess they just established it here, that you can communicate out of the Void, which seems interesting. Like, it makes me wonder, like, okay, you had Cassandra Nova, who's this powerful, right? Why didn't the Loki variants do anything about her? Like, was she just that powerful that the Loki variants didn't even want to touch her? To be fair, none of the Deadpool variants in their massive horde wanted to touch her either, and just showed up at the end to be an obstacle for Wade and fucking Logan. Like, that really upset me too, is that the entirety of the Deadpool army and the Deadpool variants were only there for cannon fodder. That is it. They were there to get cut down like meat sacks for entertainment. You didn't have them really be anything more than that, and they just kind of were chum for the slaughter, basically. And, like, to a certain degree, that's not a problem, but at the same time, like, I feel like there's a little more you could have done with that instead of just making them all fucking weirdies. Like you had them all come to Wade's the prime Deadpool's timeline to stop him from stopping Cassandra from destroying all the time. Like I I'm not sure if I missed something or if like the whole point that the Deadpools were ganging up to stop Deadpool and Wolverine was because they wanted the Void to also be the only thing in existence. Right? Like, and also, okay, yeah, this leads me to. I said I was going to talk about the cameos, but this leads me to the stupidity of Cassandra Nova. Cassandra Nova rules over the Void. Somehow has an agreement with the TVA and Paradox to say, I will rule everything in the Void and make sure nobody does anything fucking stupid and tries to break out. You guys send me things in the Void so that we're both happy. And then she learns that Paradox is making a time ripper to destroy timelines, so now she wants to destroy every timeline so that she can no longer get anything from any other timeline. And the Void is the only thing that exists. But when the Void is the only thing that exists, there is no time, and when there's no time, you're not getting anything new there. It's just the Void, and you're the only one there. You're God, like she said she would be. But the key flaw with this entire thing is you could have just initiated that plan the whole fucking time, because she had a sling ring that can travel realms, apparently, and they didn't really explain that in the film at all. They just said, oh, I have a sling ring, and they showed that it has the reality stone and the time stone shoved at either end, so obviously, because of those stones, you can warp reality and time in a way that allows you to hop into another timeline. That kind of makes sense. But to have it this whole time, and just because someone's making a time ripper to destroy timelines, you decide to say fuck it and come out of your void to destroy every other timeline when you could have done that from the start. You could have just left the void. Not only could you have left the void, but there are multiple ways to destroy a timeline. You don't need the time ripper to destroy a timeline. The Loki show showed this more than well enough. If you don't have anything to prune the timelines, or don't have anything to control the timelines from getting out of hand, then you have chaos and anarchy, and it all blows it up on itself, which is why Loki in Season 2 had to take on the, like, God of Time, basically, position. So, I don't understand that. And on top of that, that brings up an excellent question for Loki Season 2. If he's the God of Time now, and he's the one creating and managing everything so that you don't have timelines collapsing anymore, you don't have all the things trying to weave into each other, but yet a key point in this film is that the Fox universe is unraveling and it's destroying itself, and that Deadpool is being offered to move to the MCU while his old world dies, which shouldn't happen if Loki is in control of time, if I understand correctly. It was very ambiguous at that ending, so I'm not sure if it means that, like, Loki is in control of time, but things can still get out of hand, which is why the TVA is around to fix problems like that. I don't know. Circling back to the cameos, though. My god. These motherfuckers got Wesley Snipes to reprise his role as fucking Blade. Not only reprises his role as Blade, but he says the goddamn classic goddamn line. Some motherfuckers always be trying to escape uphill. It's so fucking good, dude. Oh my god, it's so good. And then you have, obviously, Jennifer Garner as Electra Nachios again, which was, that was great. That was good to see her again. And a little reference of Daredevil being gone and Deadpool being like, my condolences. She's just like, it's pretty fucking funny because they didn't have like any connection whatsoever. And in their own solo movie, I don't even think they mentioned Daredevil. Like, that movie's a fever dream. I haven't seen that in years, so I don't even remember. But it's funny they brought her back. It's funny that they even mentioned the fucking Punisher. They mentioned the Punisher, dude. And not only that, but Deadpool had the fucking gall to say, was there like 5 of them? Yeah. Which he's not wrong. He's not fucking wrong. Oh my god. And like, the fact that they bring up these cameos, like, and then they like bring up the cameos as solutions to the problem, but then say those cameos were already dead so that, because they couldn't get them for the film or whatever. It's like with Magneto, they're like, oh, yeah, just get Magneto, put his helmet on her, it's easy fix. She killed him when he first arrived and melted down his helmet because he was obviously the first major threat she faced. It's like, fuck. It's so good. But I think the biggest surprise wasn't Wesley, wasn't Jennifer Garner, wasn't Chris Evans. It was fucking Channing Tatum as Gambit. These crazy bastards gave Channing Tatum the fucking opportunity to play Gambit, which that movie never got in. I don't think that movie got into production, if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't made. It wasn't put out. But Channing Tatum was lined up to play the role of Gambit, and oh my god, it's probably a good thing that they didn't get him to play the fucking role as Gambit. Oh my god, dude, him in the Gambit suit is so fucking ridiculous, man. Like take what you normally think of Gambit, like the slender, skinny, scrawny dude, the wild ass hair. Flatten that shit down for the hair. Put on like 300 pounds of fucking muscle on that guy, and you've got Gambit as played by Channing Tatum. Like, oh my god, dude. It was so funny. And then his dialect, oh my god. Oh my god. Like, his dialect as Remy was about as good as mine is. Like, I'm Remy LeBeau. I am the Gambit, as you say. Except it was a little better because it's like, he was going so Bayou with it that's like, Deadpool couldn't understand what the fuck he was saying, and I could barely understand what the fuck he was saying half the time. He was just like, but like the so fucking good, man. So fucking good. I am called the Gambit. Can you run that back one more time? I couldn't hear you. And then he makes a fucking joke about his dialect coach too and everything. It's so fucking It's so fucking ridiculous, man. Like, out of all the cameos I could have expected, Channing Tatum as Gambit was like the. It wasn't even on my list. It didn't even make the list. I wouldn't even say it's the bottom. It didn't even make the list because there was no way in hell I would have ever expected them to bring him back into a role that he never played and never got to play just to make a joke of it. Like, he even makes a point. He even makes a fucking joke where he's like, I don't even remember if I was born here or not. Like, it's just so fucking stupid. It's so good. And now that I've got all the, like, the major cameos out of the way and everything, moving to the end cameos with the Deadpools, the variants of Deadpool. They don't make it clear in the film, but if you stay around and watch the credits, it is confirmed Blake Lively was Ladypool. They actually did it, boys. They actually did it. They cast Ryan's wife as Ladypool. Because of fucking course they did. You can, like, if you know Blake Lively, if you've seen her and stuff, if you've seen her in interviews and stuff, I'm sure the voice would be very distinctive and you'd be able to pick up on, like, oh yeah, that's totally her. But at least for me, I couldn't tell, and I had to stick around and see the credits and be like, oh yeah, yep, Ladypool was indeed Blake Lively. So that I thought was pretty fun. The whole fight and everything that the cameos get involved in with Wolverine and Deadpool, and having them involved in basically a whole act of the story and be like important players and like part of the team, basically. Like, instead of the X-Force in like the second film, or like the X-Men team up with Negasonic and Colossus in the first film, you have Deadpool and Wolverine team up with Elektra, fucking Gambit, and Blade, Wesley Snipes. And then on top of that, the one that I didn't mention because it was obviously shown in the film, X-23. Laura shows up again, and she was great. She was fantastic. Glad to see her back in the role. And with a lot more speaking lines this time around, as opposed to in Logan, where she barely spoke. But yeah, no, she did a fantastic job, and seeing her in action again was great. And the fact that I like the fact that they had her keep the little sunglasses that she stole while she was with Logan. I really like that touch, and I really like how much of this film calls back and harkens back to other Deadpool films and other Fox Media, and has those direct line references and connections, and they don't shy away from it. They go right in, and they just lay it all out there, and they're like, hey, you did this, and you were part of this, and I think they did it really well, and it was really smart of them to make those cameos actually important roles in the film, and make them big players in the story. And then the one thing that I completely forgot to mention at the very beginning of the film was immediately desecrating not only the Logan film, but the grave of Logan himself from that film. Man. The first fucking opening minutes. So y'all be wondering, how are we gonna honor the perfect send-off that we had for Logan? We aren't, you see. And it proceeds to dig up his fucking corpse and use his skeleton as weaponry in a fucking Backstreet Boys backed fucking fight choreography scene. I mean, if there's any other way to say, hey, we don't give a fuck about what you guys think about bring Wolverine back, that's certainly one way to do it, to bring his adamantium fucking skeleton out of his grave and use it as a tool to beat men to death with. Like, this film is crazy. This film is so fucking good. there's a lot of drawbacks with like the plot stuff and like a lot of the things kind of like not meshing together well because of the writer's strike and everything, but overall, it's pretty goddamn good. It's an enjoyable time. Like, if you enjoyed the first two films, if you enjoyed the mindless violence and the crass humor, and seeing Wolverine again on screen and pull on his goddamn mask and put on that mask for the first time, like, dude, oh my god, it was so good. So good. So good. I was so excited when it showed up. Like, oh man. Film was great. Loved it. I would recommend go seeing it 100%. As I said, like a 7.5 to 8 out of 10, I would say, roughly. Very good, very enjoyable. I hope you all enjoyed this video and this reaction and review. And if you did, like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you all in the next video. Until next time, adios, ladies and gents.